What if the most dangerous mission in the world was already underway, and you would never hear about it? The helicopter blades cut through the cold midnight air, somewhere beyond the edge of the map, where borders meant nothing and silence meant survival. Inside the aircraft, 12 men sat in absolute darkness, their faces hidden behind night vision goggles, their identities buried deeper than the classified files that authorized this operation. They were members of the United States Army's most secretive and elite counterterrorism unit, 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta, known to the world simply as Delta Force. No speeches, no dramatic countdown, just a quiet nod from the team leader. The mission had begun long before the rotors started spinning. Months earlier, intelligence analysts inside the Central Intelligence Agency intercepted encrypted chatter about a high-value target operating out of a fortified compound in a hostile region. The target wasn't just another warlord. He was a financier, strategist, and recruiter, someone who moved money, weapons, and ideology across continents, the kind of man whose capture could dismantle an entire network. Satellite imagery from National Geospatial Intelligence Agency confirmed the compound's layout: high walls, guard towers, layered security, reinforced gates, and underground bunkers. Signals intelligence mapped communication frequencies. Human sources risked their lives to identify guard rotations and entry points. Every scrap of information was filtered, analyzed, and cross-checked. When the probability of success crossed the threshold, the mission packet was sent up the chain of command, eventually landing on a desk inside the United States Department of Defense. And then it was handed to Delta. At their training compound at Fort Liberty, still called Fort Bragg by many who had served there, the operators built a full-scale replica of the target compound. They studied it under sunlight, under moonlight, and under red emergency lamps. They rehearsed breaches, room clearances, hostage extractions, casualty evacuations. They practiced until muscle memory replaced conscious thought. Delta Force selection had already stripped away ego from these men. Months of physical punishment, psychological stress, sleep deprivation, and land navigation across unforgiving terrain had filtered out all but the most resilient. Now, mission preparation refined them further. They trained alongside pilots from the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, the Night Stalkers, masters of flying low and fast under radar, slipping through mountains and cities like ghosts. On the final rehearsal night, the team leader gathered their operators around a dimly lit table. A digital map glowed between them. Infiltration at 0100 hours. Fast rope insertion on the north side. Alpha team clears primary structure. Bravo secures perimeter in secondary building. Target expected in subterranean level. Rules of engagement confirmed. We go in quiet, we come out fast. No one asked unnecessary questions. Each man knew his role: breacher, medic, sniper, communications, assault lead. They trusted one another with a certainty built through years of deployments to Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and places that never made the news. Back in the present, the helicopter banked sharply to avoid radar sweep. The pilot's voice came through the headset, calm, steady. 30 seconds. The operators rose in unison, harnesses clipped, weapons checked one last time, suppressors secured. Infrared lasers invisible to the naked eye flickered to life. The helicopter hovered just feet above the compound's northern wall. Fast ropes dropped. One by one, the men slid into the darkness below. Boots hit dirt without a sound. Bravo team fanned out immediately, securing blind spots and eliminating 2 sentries with suppressed shots before alarms could trigger. Alpha stacked at a reinforced door. The breacher placed a charge precisely calculated to blow the lock without collapsing the hallway beyond. A muffled thud. The door swung inward. Inside, chaos waited, but chaos they had already rehearsed 100 times. Rooms cleared in seconds. Flashlights sliced through dust and smoke. Clear, clear, moving. Voices stayed low, controlled. On the second floor, a guard stumbled from a bedroom, weapon raised. Two operators fired simultaneously. The threat dropped instantly. No hesitation, no wasted motion. In the courtyard, Bravo intercepted a pickup truck attempting escape. A precision shot from the Overwatch sniper disabled the engine block. The driver surrendered within seconds. Alpha reached a concealed staircase leading underground. Thermal scans confirmed multiple heat signatures below. The team leader signaled. Two operators descended first, covering left and right. A narrow corridor led to a reinforced steel door. This one required more force. The breacher switched to a heavier charge. Breaching. The explosion echoed louder this time, but by then surprise had already fractured the defenders' response. Inside the bunker, the high-value target scrambled towards a secondary exit, flanked by armed guards. A brief firefight erupted in the confined space. Bullets sparked against concrete. One Delta operator took a grazing wound to his shoulder, but continued advancing. Within moments, it was over. The target lay pinned beneath two operators, wrists bound with flex cuffs. His eyes showed disbelief, not just at being captured, but at the speed. From first breach to target secured, less than 9 minutes had passed. Outside, rotor blades thundered again as extraction helicopters approached. Flares deployed to counter potential heat-seeking missiles. The team moved with urgency, but not panic. The wounded operator was stabilized by the medic and loaded aboard first. As the helicopters lifted away, the compound below flickered with the first signs of organized resistance. But it was too late. Delta was already vanishing into the night. Back at a forward operating base, intelligence officers immediately began exploitation. Laptops, hard drives, cell phones, and documents seized from the bunker were handed to cyber specialists. Within hours, new leads emerged: bank accounts in Europe, contacts in North Africa, supply routes through the Middle East. The mission's impact rippled outward quietly. Funds were frozen. Arrests were coordinated internationally. Drone surveillance shifted to new coordinates. The dismantling of a network had begun, not with a speech or a headline, but with 12 men descending on ropes in the dark. Weeks later, the president received a classified briefing summarizing the operation's success. There would be no parade, no televised recognition. Official statements would use vague phrases like counterterrorism efforts and joint operations. The names of the operators would remain classified. But inside the Delta Squadron Ready Room at Fort Liberty, the team gathered again. The wounded operator's shoulder was healing. They watched helmet camera footage not for celebration, but for improvement. Angles adjusted, timings refined, mistakes analyzed without ego, because another mission was already forming. Delta Force's effectiveness is not built on brute strength alone. It's a fusion of intelligence integration, relentless training, technological superiority, and human trust. Every operation begins with intelligence, often coordinated with agencies like the CIA and signals units across the Department of Defense. That intelligence shapes the objective: capture, rescue, eliminate, or gather information. Next comes planning, detailed terrain modeling, drone reconnaissance, cyber infiltration, and risk assessment. Contingency plans for mechanical failure, unexpected reinforcements, civilian presence, or compromised insertion. Then rehearsal, repetition until reaction becomes instinct. Execution follows a simple philosophy: speed, surprise, and violence of action, applied precisely and lawfully under strict rules of engagement. Delta operators are trained not only to shoot, but to discriminate, to distinguish threat from non-threat in fractions of a second. Extraction is as critical as insertion. The 160th SOAR pilots often fly at treetop level to evade detection, using night vision systems and terrain-following radar. If helicopters cannot land, alternate plans include ground exfiltration, river movement, or coordinated support from other U.S. Special Operations units. Medical readiness is constant. Every operator carries advanced trauma kits. Every team includes highly trained medics capable of performing battlefield surgery. Survival is not left to chance. Psychological resilience binds it all together. These men operate in environments where hesitation costs lives. They rely on trust, earned through selection processes so grueling that most never complete them. Over the decades, Delta Force has adapted to evolving threats: urban warfare, counterinsurgency, hostage rescue, cyber-linked terrorism. Technology changes, battlefields shift, but the core principle remains: small teams, precise objectives, overwhelming competence. Some missions become known to history, even if details remain classified. The broader public may associate elite counter-terror operations with units like United States Naval Special Warfare Development Group, often called SEAL Team 6, especially after high-profile operations. But within the Army structure, Delta remains a central pillar of Tier 1 capability, operating in parallel, sometimes jointly, always quietly. And so the cycle continues. Another briefing room, another satellite image, another threat evolving in the shadows. The operators prepare again. They check their gear with the same discipline. They rehearse with the same intensity. They board helicopters without fanfare. Because somewhere in the world, someone is planning violence against innocent lives. And before the world ever knows the danger existed, Delta Force may already be on its way, silent, precise, and unstoppable. The rotors spin, the lights go dark, and the mission begins.